Carman and Paul Ahnert.
Hey, we're live today. Hey, welcome to a special Monday night edition of Road Less Traveled. We got a very special guest tonight, Eli Prinsen, and we're looking forward to hearing about all that you've got going on. Some great, exciting news for you and for the music world. And how you doing, Bryan?
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, we usually start off our show with 3 albums. Did you have 3 you wanted to share tonight, brother?
Yep. I went back to what now is like really old. The first 1,000 Foot Crutch, Phenomenon.
I almost grabbed that tonight.
Such a good album. My favorite song on there is Rock Fist, obviously. And I've been listening to a lot of this one.
Van Halen.
Oh, yeah.
1984. Yeah, man. That's a great album.
I think so, too. Even though it's a lot of keyboard, it just showed more of Eddie's talent.
Yep.
Then, of course, I had to choose this one.
Waiting in Darkness.
Yeah. When I first heard you do that one vocal part, I must have watched it over like 20 times. I'm like, holy crap. If I tried that, it would sound like a dog dying or something.
Right. Yeah, man. Those we did that back in. I got with them in 2012, and that came out in 13, I believe.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and that album was actually my introduction to Sacred Warrior.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm late to the party on everything. So I got a hold
of Obsessions.
That was your first one?
There's not a bad song on that album.
No, I didn't even realize that there was a vocalist different switch on the album you were on, because I had not really been aware of the band prior to that. And so I think it was when I went to Immortal Fest that I actually learned that Ray was the original singer and you had come in for that album, because I love that album. And there was songs on that album that I was hoping to hear and didn't. So for obvious reasons. But I love Ray and I love all things Sacred Warrior, but that album was my introduction. So therefore, probably a better place in my, a sweeter spot in my heart as far as being aware of a band. But my 3 for tonight, and one night we're gonna have the same one. Right. It's gonna happen.
Yep.
Narnia's second self-titled album. This was after they had a hiatus. If you're into that Swedish, that European big power metal, you'd love these guys. There was a little hiatus where Narnia was no more for a while, and everybody's off doing solo projects, and then they came back together and did this one, and it was just out of the park great. So if you get a chance, this is an awesome introductory album, even though it's like right in the middle of their catalog. This one I picked because I was on a conversation with a guy on X today about it, and a friend of mine, Mike, that I just love out in Oregon. This album is the Van Zant's gospel album, and there's a song on here called it's not our genre, it's not metal, it's not rock, it's more southern rock, gospel, country gospel. But they did a song called Jesus Christ on here that if you have not heard it, you really need to check it out, because it'll blow your mind. And it's the Van Zant brothers, one from Skinner to one from 38 Special, and very powerful testimony, very, very good, lyrically incredible. So that's the second one. And these guys, kind of a blast from the past, 3 Crosses, again, not metal, but hard rock, and they kind of a groundbreaking band from back in the early CCM rock days. So if you get a chance to check them out, especially This Is Not My Home, one of the tracks on here is really fantastic. So that's my 3 picks for the week. And I do have this one up on deck because we're going to talk about it later, but wasn't tonight. All right. So, Eli, thank you for being with us tonight. I want to introduce to you Eli Prinsen. He is currently the vocalist for the band Saint. Tremendous opportunity for both, I think, for Saint and for yourself. I think it's mutually beneficial and exciting for the rock world. And you guys are playing Immortal?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So hopefully I'll be out there this year and get to check that out. But Eli, go ahead and tell us about yourself. Tell us what's going on.
Hi, I'm Eli Prinsen. I joined Saint recently. Was asked first to do a tour over in Europe, and then it all kind of came together, and then got invited to become a member of Saint, which I was absolutely thrilled. The Saint's like one of my absolute, if not my absolute favorite Christian metal band of all time. They were the first Christian band I ever heard, actually. And I was a huge Judas Priest fan. Go figure, right? Saint.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine says, "Hey, you got to check this out, man. I know you like Halford, and he puts on Time's End." And the first thing I hear is, Josh Kramer come in there, and I was just like, So started listening to all that stuff, and them and Sacred Warrior, and that kind of got the wheels spinning, got me, wanting to have my own band, you know what I mean? My own Christian band. And I had done secular stuff before that as a kid and everything. But yeah. So yeah, I've been singing and playing in bands since I was probably 17, 18 years old. With this voice, I couldn't do anything. I had to take lessons, and years and years and years later, when I got into the Christian metal genre, when that got saved and everything happened, started the early days with a band called Sealed Fate, and then moved on and created The Sacrificed. So I sang with The Sacrifice for a long time. We never broke up or anything. It's just things just kept happening. Like after the 3 album, I don't know if you guys know about The Sacrifice or anything, but like the last album we did was in 2012. And that came out, I want to say in February of 12. And then by May, I got the Sacred Warrior gig. So The Sacrifice just kind of stopped, Yeah. So then I was in Sacred Warrior until I think 2015, 2016. And left the band, and Ray Parra, original vocalist, came back in, which was awesome because I was a huge fan of Warrior. So I was super happy when Ray came back, because like you guys, like Paul's first album was with me, but I'd been listening to them since the first album all the way through. Was a huge fan. So when he came back, I was thrilled.
Ray's a good guy too.
Oh yeah, he's the best, man. He's great.
Really is.
So yeah, so after that, I've been teaching. I kind of immersed myself with vocal coaching, so I was kind of doing that at the same time as The Sacrificed and Sacred Warrior, but I got just kind of overwhelmed with a lot of different things, and then I stepped away from Sacred Warrior, and Ray came back, and I just did a few projects here and there. I did some guest stuff with Ronnie Koenig from Signum Regis. I think that's how you say that. Signum Regis. I did a couple tracks with them. I did some stuff with Alderia, and with I did a project with Ronnie. We did Dream Patrol. And then after that, I just, kind of just doing my own thing with teaching. I teach hybrid vocal technique. I'm a vocal coach. And then here recently, a few months ago, just out of the blue, got a message from Richard Lynch from Saint. And I hadn't talked to him in years. We met each other back in 2010 when he was playing and I was playing with another band, and became friends then, but I hadn't seen him, in ages. And then it was really, really weird how it kind of happened. I was searching for a file, audio file for, something. And I came across this track years and years ago, like right after we'd met each other. It was maybe a year or so later. I'd asked him, I emailed him and said, "Hey, Rich, you mind if I cover a Saint song, for just do a vocal cover?" And he's like, "Sure." And like, Rich moves quick. Like a minute later, I have in my email like an instrumental version of the song that I really love called "Ride to Kill."
Wow.
And so I got that and I was like, "Thanks, man." And then other things happened. I never ended up doing it and I lost it, And years later, same exact day, that morning, I found that file, put it in my car, was driving around singing to Saint, singing that song. I get home and I have an email from Richard. I'm like, what is going on?
Wow. That's such a God thing.
Yeah, it was a total God thing. So yeah, man. So really getting excited to get to know the guys and had a lot of tracks that I knew from, because I've been a Saint fan since 86, 87. But I kind of lost touch with some of the more recent albums, like maybe the last 3-4 albums, but I had listened to them all the way through probably Hellblade. And then after that I'd kind of lost touch. So they had incredible albums come out after that. And so there's plenty of songs from those on the set. So I had to immerse myself in all of that and learn all those songs. So and then here we are.
Super exciting. So what's the dynamic? So you've had your own band, you've had the total creative control of that, and then moving into a situation where you're coming into an established outfit. And did you guys tour a bit when you were with Sacred Warrior? Did you get to do any live shows?
We did a few shows, not many. That was in a time period where they had a long hiatus. A long,
right.
And then they had started back with the new album and everything. And they went, as you heard, they went heavier than their early material. And, so once we did that, the rest of them, so Sacred Warrior lives in Illinois, like through Chicago, Wheaton, and Aurora.
Oh, okay.
And I live in Florida. So, we were just, now that you can do this on the internet, it's just sending tracks, and doing it that way. And, but we only did, they were kind of getting their feet wet again as well after a long time. So we did maybe just a couple of shows, before Ray came back. Yeah.
But you were playing your older stuff at the shows too, right? Not just the new album.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So what's that dynamic like, going from where you have creative control to now you're stepping into an established thing where, and I don't want to say you're doing somebody else's stuff, but you're kind of rolling into something that's already established and there's an expectation. What's that like? What kind of pressure is that put on you as an artist?
Well, that kind of prepared me for this because, try stepping. Now, are you a singer, Bryan?
I've been singing more lately because some of the fans have said they like my voice, so I have been doing some.
Yeah. Imagine stepping in after Ray Parra.
Nope.
Ray's like one of the greats, man, so that actually, the fan response was pretty welcoming for the most part. It was positive. Luckily this is it's a Christian band, but a lot of people, and understandably, because I was a huge Sacred Warrior fan, had every one of their albums, and Ray was like one of my greatest vocal inspirations. He was one of my influences. So I expected there to be a lot of people that are like, it's just not Warrior without Ray,
right.
But it was a different Warrior when I was with them. Waiting in Darkness was, and a lot of people preferred the more melodic earlier stuff too. Everyone is going to like whatever,
You can't please everybody.
Yeah, you can't, but the majority of everybody, they're pretty cool, and but a lot of people are like, man, I miss Ray, and I did too. But I had fun, and But coming in there and
It's a good thing you didn't suck.
it wouldn't have worked at all. Yeah. But yeah, singing the classic stuff, you know, Ray's, I mean, we've all heard Ray Parra. He's got this beautiful melodic and angelic voice. And then we're a bit different. I'm a little more, I'm totally a trained singer, but I have this low voice that I have to bring up there. So his voice is just pretty and natural and beautiful up there. And I got to use every trick in the book to sing those old songs. You know what I mean?
Did you see that video of them where they did their studio, like in a bunch of they're in different places? Did you see that one? What song was it?
Oh, on the Solid Rock, on Christ the Solid Rock?
No. And I knew if I didn't have it in my head, I shouldn't bring it up.
Is it the one that has like all the different members that have ever been in the band?
Ray is in his own studio, and the rest of the band is in an actual studio playing together. There's a keyboard player.
Okay. All right. This is something different because we actually did a track it had every living member of Sacred Warrior, and I was in that one. Okay. And it had the whole band, and even let's see, on Waiting in Darkness, Joe Pettit was playing keyboards, and then I was singing.
Wait, were you all in one room?
No, it was. We did this during the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
And so it was like all in our own houses and studios and things, and then they put it together, and that was fun. That came out really good. If you haven't seen that's one of my favorite things ever. It's just it came out so good. Steve did a really good job with the production.
I think a comment we got is kind of why you do what you do, both of you guys. Carrie wrote, and she says, I love it. God delivered me from secular metal music. Me too. And the lifestyle that comes with it in 1994. Over the years, I've come across some good Christian rock and metal, and sometimes I need to hear some good shred. LOL. So, I mean, that's why you guys do what you do, right?
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
like,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
You first.
Well, I was just going to say, there's so much out there that is unknown. That's one of the reasons why we do this show, is because, there's so much good Christian rock out there, so much good Christian metal that people just don't get the exposure that they should because of the record industry the way it is. And I think that the enemy has a big part in that, in the secular music industry and all that. So, we do this so that people like Harry, who are coming out of that kind of music, don't come along and say, oh, I hope I find a band that sounds like my favorite band. We want you to find the band that you love the sound of that has better lyrics. That's the goal here. So Go ahead. What are you going to say?
Well, I want to piggyback off of that. You remember in what I call the golden age of Christian metal, like when, guys around our age found Christian metal or realized that there actually was such a thing other than Striper, which was, melodic rock, metal,
right.
Whatever. Excuse me. So at first I know that, just from hearing the stories from some of the bands that, that I played with back then, that they kind of were searching in the early days, searching for bands that were like an alternative to, it sounded similar to other bands, so you had like X Center sounded like AC/DC, Saint sounded like a bit like Priest, and so on and so forth, Queensryche, Sacred Warrior a bit, and so early on there was like White Cross, a lot of people that liked Rat and Van Halen mixed together, like White Cross, because Rex Carroll could shred, and so after that it seemed like once you got into the early 90s, late 80s, very early 90s, then it seemed like the bands were starting to come out that sounded like themselves a bit. And people are still trying to say, oh no, they sound like this person. And it's like, I don't hear it,
Yeah,
I agree. They were so used to that. And I still see it on some of the threads on Facebook. You'll see people asking, hey, and I totally get it. They're like, hey, can people point me into the direction of a band that sounds like this or has a singer that sings like that? And then everybody's like, you know, and then they've got more stuff than, you know, they're just going to be overjoyed. It's going to be like Christmas, you know?
Oh yeah.
So, but it's cool, man. It's cool.
All right. And
So
Carrie,
it sounds like a good time right now to do the fan spotlight.
okay. So we're doing something new. You want to talk about it, Bryan?
I got the idea, and Paul liked it. Have a fan come in and ask a question for our special guest. So we have Joe Saiafi.
All right, Joe. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Very blessed. Thank you so much for the invite.
You have a question for Eli?
Oh, I've probably got 20 questions, but since I have to narrow it down to one, it's perhaps a little bit of a compound question, but I think it would really suit anybody that's watching this video, whether now live or in the future. What I would like to know is in your business, in any business for that matter, what do you do to encourage a walk with Christ and stay focused?
To encourage, can you say that again? I'm sorry.
What do you do, and how do you maintain your walk with Christ? What do you use for encouragement?
Okay. Well, are you talking about in my job, my vocal coaching, or in my job as singing?
I guess as a lead singer of a rock and roll band, a metal band.
Yeah, I'm somebody that prays constantly, almost obsessively, and every day I just pray to be led and to be kind and treat people the way I would like to be treated, and I don't really push. I'm not a pushy person. I'm not somebody that throws things into place, but anytime I can get something that will come through, then I can direct a conversation a certain way and talk to people. But just walking in love, man. And that's about it. I hope that answered your question. I'm sorry. I'm a bit out of it.
Nothing to be sorry about. That was a great answer, and I'm very appreciative.
What's like your second question, since that was pretty quick?
Yeah.
Okay, second question. Now, this is some real heavy-duty philosophical stuff. Okay. If you drove at the speed of light and turned on your headlights, what would happen?
What? One more time. What?
Okay, if you were driving at the speed of light and turned your headlights on, what would happen?
That hurts
Nothing?
my head.
Nothing? I don't know.
I don't know either. I've never driven that fast. That would be a good question to lighten things up.
That reminded me, what that reminded me of is you remember that movie, what was that? UHF.
Yeah.
Weird Al Yankovic. He's
Yes.
and the guy that played Kramer on Seinfeld, he's like, hey, I was wondering if you were like going like in space at the speed of light and you just stuck your head out the window and started screaming, what would happen? Would your brain blow up? That's what that reminded me of.
All right, man. Well, thanks, Joe. We appreciate you coming on. It's pretty
Thanks for
awesome.
coming
I'm
on.
going to send you
Thank you,
backstage
boss.
again.
Nice shirt, by the way.
Yeah, nice shirt.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
Bye, Joe.
All right, so we got some comments that came in while we were in there, and then I guess Bryan, you were talking about a video, and so Joshua sent you the video. And
Yeah, and I can't remember what song it was either because I'm not feeling good.
Yeah, this is a aside that tonight's not coffee. Tonight's Theraflu for me, and Bryan hasn't eaten in days, so 2 days. So we're both very sick. We're on different parts. We're in different states, all three of us. So thankfully, we're not getting Eli sick, and nobody watching is going to get sick from us, obviously. but we are all in recovery mode right now.
Shouldn't we be wearing masks? I'm just kidding.
So Carrie says it's really about lyrics, and so let's talk about that a little bit. how much writing did you do on that Sacred Warrior album? And are you doing any writing for Saint coming up?
Okay. With Sacred Warrior on Waiting in Darkness, I didn't do very much lyric writing. They had a lot of songs in place already. And they had actually been in pre-production for a good while when I came on. So they already had a roadmap for pretty much everything. But then I had done 2 audition tracks for them when I got in the band. And one of them was the title track, was Waiting in Darkness. So Ray had already written the first 2 verses. And so then they were like, hey, it was like you know how it's a really long song and it has like a big instrumental section and then it kind of comes back in at the end. And so I wrote on that song everything from the high scream that I did, from the high scream all the way to the end. That was the writing I did on Waiting in Darkness. And everything else was written, I want to say, between Bruce, Ray, and maybe Steve. Nice. So yeah, that was it. But I think I did some of my best writing right after that high note. But with Saint,
can you hear that?
It's squashing your audio, but I see it.
Can we hear it or not?
No,
a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Very...
Yeah. That's when I had the Wolverine mullet.
Don't you do that stream up pretty soon, right?
It already passed. Yeah.
Oh well, I tried to find it.
Yeah. Now, to answer your question about Saint, we've talked about writing, because like right after we get done with this this small tour we're about to do in March, when we get back, we're going to start writing and working on a new album.
Awesome.
So, and Rich has already, invited me to, submit any lyrics or ideas, which we'll go through him. He gets the final say. He's the, and, but I know him and Matt and Jared have been working on stuff, and they've got probably a good list of songs in the background somewhere. But yeah, we're going to start writing and recording like right after. So in between this tour and I don't know how long it'll take, but yeah. And then we're going to be playing Immortal Fest in July. We're in part 1. So I think that's day number 2.
Yeah, we'll be heavily promoting Immortal Fest, and as of right now, we both want to be there. I was planning on being there last year and just didn't make it. So either one, but it's definitely a priority this year. So, given the show and everything. So absolutely want to be able to get to meet you in person when I'm healthy and get to catch you guys live. So
you might be healthy by then.
I might be healthy. I feel like I won't, but I'm sure I will.
We're going to make it, guys. We can do this.
All right. So we got some more. I think Carrie brought up, let me see if I can find it. Carrie brought up POD having a unique sound where they were still Christian. And Carrie has also said, healing in Jesus' name. Thank you. Yes. We definitely welcome that. Leah's on. Hi, Leah. Good evening.
Good evening.
We have another fan question.
Dean.
All right. So Dean, my friend Dean Carter has asked if you would have joined Barren Cross if they asked you first.
If they asked me first? Well, I wouldn't have known about this amazing opportunity, and I would have had to. Saint is where this is a dream come true for me, guys. This was, I mean, and just ask Dean. I mean, I love Barren Cross too, man. I mean, the old stuff where it sound, again, like we were talking about earlier. They were kind of like the alternative to, kind of like Iron Maiden, You know,
Right.
he had a voice kind of like Bruce Dickinson, and I loved Barron Cross, but
Mhm.
I love Saint more. Sorry.
Daniel says hi. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Daniel.
He's my son. He's a drummer.
Cool.
So, yeah.
I was a
And-
drummer before I was a singer. Yeah.
Oh, were you?
Yep.
Okay. So you got like a Steven Tyler story?
No.
So how did you
no,
transition from drumming to singing?
Okay. What happened was,
He was a Phil Collins fan.
yeah, we like when we would have rehearsal and we were playing, you know, this is back in the late 80s, you know, middle late 80s. And we were playing what I call radio metal, you know, like, you know, kind of top 40 metal back then, hard rock.
Mm-hmm.
And me, the bass player and the rhythm guitar player, we all liked heavier stuff. We liked Priest and Maiden and Motorhead and whatever. And so the lead singer and the lead guitar player, when they would leave, when we were done with our band practice, one of my buddies would get behind the kit and they were like, Eli, get up there and sing. Let's just have fun. And I'm like, man, I can't sing, man. You know, and I'd get up there and I'd just, you know, and couldn't, no range, no nothing, couldn't do anything, but it was fun. It was fun, you know, and I was like, man, I wish I could do this, you know. And then one night we were having band practice and we were taking a break. You know, we're like outside and we were playing in this massive kind of mini storage facility. There was like probably 5 or 6 bands in there practicing. And we were taking a break one night and I heard, or me and my guitar player heard this guy singing and he just ripped, man, you know, really, really good. And I'm like, hey man, let's go check them out, you know? And we go around the corner and I knew the guy. And I remember when he started singing, he sounded like a little boy, you know, and this guy was ripping, man. I mean, he was like rivaling Klaus from Scorpions and Don Dokken in his heyday, you know?
Yeah.
And I knew him and I remember our singer was jealous. He's like, total singer, you know? And so he comes up to me. He's like, Eli, man. I'm like, dude, what happened to your voice, man? It's amazing. He's like, you got to come with me, man. What are you doing Saturday? I'm like, nothing. He's like, you got to come with me. And so we went to where he was taking lessons. So we drove from Lakeland to Largo. And that's when I met my voice teacher, Al Cohen. And because Jerry had been studying with Al. And I was, before I left that day, when I sat there and watched Jerry have his lesson before I left, take my money. I signed up, man, and stayed there for, yeah. So, but yeah, man, so that's how it happened. It was just kind of like, just out of nowhere. I couldn't sing anything. It was just for fun when the singer and the guitar player would leave. And then that happened. Then I started taking lessons. And next thing you know, I wasn't playing drums anymore, in a nutshell.
Sweet.
You asked me earlier if I sing, and I told you that I have been lately because some fans, like, Dave Cruz.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, in a private message, dude, you need to sing. You have a good voice. And a lot of people don't know all of our music that we do, before we send it to Dale Thompson, I have to sing everything. So he gets an idea of what I want.
Right.
And so we're on our 4th album about to be released in July. And just by circumstances, I've been being trained to sing. So
cool.
I'm getting better. And when we sing
man.
in church, I try to learn how to sing from down here instead of always up here. Because I grew up listening to Stryper. So it's always up here. There, I knew I'd get something in tonight, even though I'm raspy. So there you go. I told you I'm not afraid to put myself out there.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah. So yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, where you give because I know I was like that, like when I would do projects like I had mentioned with some of these other guys, I would always ask, like even in the Sacrifice, Mike Phillips on the 3 album wrote close to half of those songs. And I would tell him, hey, send me anything to give me an example of what you're looking for as far as, you know, how you would like the vocals to go if you wrote the lyrics, because I'm not just going to guess how your lyrics go.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It could be just like not even close to your vision.
Yep.
So we did the same thing. We would,
Okay.
I would tell them, hey, if you want this high and you can't sing high, just sing it in falsetto, man. Mickey Mouse it and record it and send it to me. And then I'll know how you want this to go.
I wonder if he felt really dumb like I did a couple of times, because I had to message Dale and go, dude, I cannot hit this, but this is the idea.
I still have a couple of those recordings. They're so funny because he sounds like almost like King Diamond with no effects, you know, like because he wrote like on the Sacrificed on the 3 album, the first song on there is called Falling, and Mike wrote that, and Mike is on gave me the melody track, and he's singing the whole thing. He's faking it. He's like, go down to fight this battle, man. But it showed me how he wanted it to go. Yep. And I kept it. I still have it.
But it works though. So it's what you do.
It works perfect. It's exactly what I asked him to do. Yep. It gave me the idea, and I've done that with and I've seen, this is pretty interesting too. This may help you, man. When I did that album with Dream Patrol, they had a really interesting way of sending vocal melodies to singers. They Ronnie Koenig, the bass player, he actually would sing it, and then he's a producer, so he knows, you know, how to do all this stuff that I do not know how to do. But he would sing it, and then he would pitch correct it and rig it to where even if he couldn't sing it, it was almost like Vocaloid or something, you know. and then send it to me, and I was like, all right on, I know exactly what you want now.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So anytime somebody, like someone else in the band, writes lyrics, I always ask for that, instead of just like, oh, here's the words. I'm like, no, man, it's not going to be what you intend. I'd like
for fans out there, I don't know if a lot of people know that aren't in the business. We send a track with my vocal, and we send a track without the vocal to Dale. That way he hears what we have, and then he can sing it. Because something that you and I take for granted, a lot of people don't know the process. So
yeah, true. This is pretty interesting too, man. I mean, just tips and things I could share with you as far as that I've learned, right? Like, which was really cool, man. They would send me, like when they would send me like the melody track with the lyrics, like how the song goes, he would also send separate MIDI files of like just generic keyboard, you know, and for the background vocals, like 4 or 5, sometimes they'd have like layered, you know, and I would sing each one of them, but it was like, you know, separate tracks that of course no one hears those, you know, but it would have like the melody on one track. I would sing that one, then the next and the next and the next. And then you play it back all together and you're like, whoa.
I was just going to ask you, when I started doing vocals, we learned from Dale Thompson, because our first song was Your Enemy, and he sent us that. And my drummer, John Mockma, goes, Bryan, come here and look at this. I'm like, what? There's 8 vocal tracks. What am I going to do with these? We thought we'd get 1 track. We didn't know. And so I've learned from that. And so when I did a song, I had to do 4 layers of vocals, and one of them was like that. It sounds so stupid. But then, like you said, when you get all the and then they all get blended, you're like, listen to that.
Yeah.
Wow, it's really amazing what you can do on the computers and stuff.
Yeah. I tell you what, man, it sure beats the way we did it in the old days. You know, when
track?
In the analog days, you pay for studio time. You didn't have the luxury of having it at your house, you know, in the analog days.
So much money is what I heard.
Oh yeah, I remember between 5 guys in a band saving up, and then getting like 8 hours of time to do an entire demo, all the instruments and everything. And of course, when you're singing, you do your last, you know, the way they do it. And the drums first, and, you know, drums, bass, and then guitars, and then vocals at the end. And I remember, you know, we're young, you know, my buddies are like, my other bandmates are like, all right, you got to dig deep. We got 1 hour, man. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. You know? So yeah, it's nice now, but it's crazy though, because you can get overly involved sometimes and take forever to put anything out. Some people suffer from that. They because they're not paying for studio time, they can be overly critical and not get anything done, you know, sometimes.
My drummer and I can only do it once a week because of family stuff. So we get together on Tuesday nights to record.
Cool.
Carrie asked, do you have a YouTube link or a place people can find your music?
Yes. With Saint, I'm not sure what the link is to their YouTube channel, but I put the most recent video on my I have my YouTube is for my vocal training channel, but I have a lot of the stuff that I've done in a playlist on that page. So that's just what is it? YouTube. I think it's / Eli Prinsen HVT vocals or something like that. But yeah.
So if someone just searches Eli Prinsen, they'll find you probably on YouTube.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Google and everything will pop up, and that'll send you down the Eli rabbit hole and hopefully land at Saint. That's where you need to be. That's where you need to land.
Eli, Tom Krogfurt, he's our friend from South Africa. He's up late tonight watching us. And he says your vocals are perfect for Saint. And
thank you, Tom. Tim. Is that Tim? Yeah.
Tim. Yeah.
I really appreciate that. I just like when I stepped in after Ray Parra, when I was in Sacred Warrior, I had big shoes to fill then, and I do again, because think about Saint has had some incredible singers, man. You know, Dave Nelson, who did a couple of the last, I think 2 or 3 albums with them. Just a monster, man. He's a beast vocalist. Excellent. And then of course, Josh Kramer and Brian Phil Miller, I think his name was. He did an album with them. So yeah, I'm right back where I was again, where I'm like, I'm coming in after, a monster singer, and I'm just like, Father help me. But everybody's been really, the first thing we put out was, that remote rehearsal of Hellblade. And for the most part, everybody's been super kind and welcoming, and yeah, so I'm super excited, and I'm going to give it everything I got, because I'm a Saint super fan, so I'm already fanboyed by the other band members. Hey man, what's up, dude?
You'd be like a fanboy.
Yeah. I remember I totally did that back in 2010 when I met them. We were, playing 2 different bands back then, but I ate dinner in the hostel with Josh Kramer, and I was totally fanboyed out. I was just like, hey man, you remember on that one track where, whoa, when you did this and that? And he's just like super mellow, and he was like, oh yeah. He made me feel like the squirrel on Ice Age, you know what I mean? And same with Rich. I'm like, I think I don't know if he remembers this or not, but I think I called him by his first and last name. Hey, Richard Lynch.
Oops.
So as a vocal teacher and coach, would you agree that the voice is like any other instrument? If you really wanted to take the time to learn it, that anybody could sing, or pretty much anybody could sing if they put the effort in?
Yeah. Some people, I don't, I won't sugarcoat it. Some people will have an easier time of picking it up, but that goes with anything,
Sure.
We all learn differently. But yeah, I've I got pretty good at teaching because I was the worst student ever. So I had to learn how to fix everything that I was doing wrong, and then learn everything that I didn't know. And it helped me, I didn't realize at the time it was going to help me in the future to help solve problems and fix voices and help people. But yeah, I've had people that that have messaged me and been like, "Hey, I'm 61 years old or I'm 62. Is it too late for me to do?" I'm like, "No." I mean, you know, I'd be like, well, first, let me see. Did you destroy your voice before I met you? And if not, no, man, you know, and it does depend on what you put in it, just like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man.
All right. So any aspiring singers out there, there's your guy. You want to get a hold of him. And I don't know how much time you got for teaching now.
What's that?
You got a lot of time for teaching now, or is that going to be something that's going to have to sit back for a little bit while you're getting this? Stuff going?
Yeah, well, coming up here, I've been super busy, man, trying to carve out time to, you know, for rehearsal and for, you know, all the stuff that we're doing and learning the songs and everything, and teaching a full roster. So it's been tough, man. It's been tight, but it is what it is. I love it. You know, this is, you know, when you love your job, you don't feel like you're really working most of the time, you know?
Yeah. And I think we kind of feel that way about doing this show now.
Right on.
It's just kind of just happened. It wasn't something we looked for or planned.
It was just going to be Paul and I, and we just thought we'd have 15 views.
Yeah. Talk about dumb stuff.
And then God said, here's Eli Prinsen. Here's Rex Carroll. Here's Paul Jackson. I'm like, really?
Yes. Yeah. So we've been like really stoked and fanboying ourselves as we're on this. And I'm doing everything I can not to be Chris Farley doing interviews. Remember that time you did that thing, man? That was really cool.
Hey, I get it. That was me when I met Saint and when I met Sacred Warrior. I was the same way. Because like I was telling you, I was a drummer before I was a singer.
Right.
So the first time I flew out to Illinois and I met Sacred Warrior, I was like all excited and fanboy to meet Tony Velasquez because their drummer, because he was my favorite drummer. I'm like, dude, Tony. And he was like the nicest guy ever. You just thought it was silly, you know, how I was, but yeah, you know, it was cool. Yeah, man. So it's such a trip to stand there and watch your favorite bands, you know, Saint and Sacred Warrior, and just be like, wow, how did I get here, man? You know?
Yeah, and then you were able to be a part of it. That's really cool.
Yeah, like, you know, because in my mind, even though that it seems like 100 years ago, I remember exactly where I was the first time I heard Saint, you know, and just like looking at my buddy going, dude, I love this.
Yeah.
You know, but back then I was like, yeah, man, what's up? You know, and then, you know, things changed, but yeah, man. So, yeah, it's crazy. Like I look over at the wife the other day. I'm like, I'm the lead singer for Saint. How did this happen? And I'm like, thank you.
Hey, Paul, put up Joshua's comment about fanboying.
Let me see if I can find it because
it starts off, "Oh, come on." There, nope.
No. We got a lot of comments we skipped here. Oh, there it is. Oh, come on. It's entertaining when someone goes a full-on fanboy.
I have. Yeah. I'll tell you what, man, it was so cool. I remember when I met Saint, I'm pretty sure it was Rich. Rich asked me, because I got to watch the concert because we were playing the next night at this festival. And so I was out there just like super excited. It was the first time I got to see them live. And that was on their, I believe they were promoting Hellblade back then. So Josh was still singing and Jerry was there and Rich. And I don't think Jared made that show. So somebody filled in for him. But yeah, man. So but anyway, before they came out, Rich asked me to lead prayer with them before they went out. And I mean, I was fanboyed when I met Josh because of the vocals and stuff, but just kind of like humbled and just kind of like, wow, man, you know, the realness of these people and just, you know, the heart for Christ, you know, and you know, me being like, just kind of like, man, I'm, you know, a little bit nervous, but I was just like, these are my brothers, man, you know? So yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man.
It is. So, you mentioned Christ and you mentioned, back in the day and used to be this, and what's your faith journey? What led you from that place to where you're at now spiritually?
Well, I was one of we're all lucky. Let's just put it that way. But, I had a praying mother, a Christian mother. And, so, from the time I can remember, my mom was always praying for me and hoping I would do good things and, straighten myself out and everything. And, so, I grew up knowing things, but, and having that love for God, but not knowing him yet,
Uh-huh.
and, yeah, so it was just kind of like, I never was, I mean, I don't know, all that bad. I don't think. Maybe we all feel like that, but yeah, I was bad. Who am I kidding? but yeah, so, I had a praying mother, and, I used to go to church and stuff, but I wasn't really, didn't have that relationship yet. Wasn't really saved yet. And, I was playing, or actually after I had heard Saint, the guy that had played Saint for me was a guitar player, and he and I became friends. Actually, we worked together. We were doing construction when I was a kid. And we started a band, and that was the first Christian band I was ever in. But throughout our friendship, after I had heard Saint, and then he gave me all these mixtapes of all the bands from back in the day, and I was just like, I'm getting fed, and I'm like, it's something that interests me. And then, the words are sinking in, and I started getting the conviction, and I started going to Carpenter's home church in Lakeland with a buddy of mine, my bass player.
Yeah, I used to live about 10 minutes from there.
Yeah.
Or more.
And yeah, and he was like, hey man, let's go see who was it? Was it Whitecross? Yeah. I want to say very late 80s, very early 90s. I want to say 89 or 90. I don't know. But we saw, went to church, saw them, and then went to the bookstore and got all the goodies, all the Saint albums and all this stuff. And yeah, so it was just, I was starting to get fed a little bit more, even though I grew up around it, and then started having the conviction. Then it was like, I wanted to be a part of things. I wanted to get to know God better, and then finally, my buddy Matt invited me to church at Carpenter's home, and went forward and got saved. And then right after that, it just kind of, new Christian zeal, pedal to the metal, and started a band. And, then it was like just, writing and recording and singing and just being, on fire, you know what I mean? And, and then so that's really how it all started. Yeah. And then that was how it happened for me. I know a lot of,
I want to make it a serious conversation. Sure. Let me see your cup that you've been drinking out of. And I thought we could be friends.
What do you got? Oh, I love the Bucks, man. I love the Bucks.
We can be friends then.
Yeah, I love the Bucks, man.
We've won the division 4 years in a row.
Brian, this is all things Saint tonight.
Yeah, that's my good.
Hey, Rich's team is the Chiefs.
Oh,
but so he's a Chiefs fan, but I'm like, dude, Saint.
You're in.
Yeah, that's only because I lived in Louisiana for a little while when I was a kid. Man.
Okay,
that's the only reason. And then yeah, but I love the Bucks, man. It's a shame that there's always your rivals, but ours was always the Falcons, and then I think the Bucks decided that we were their rivals a couple years back.
That's because you guys kept beating us.
Yeah, well, I want to say the Saints were the first team that the Bucks beat.
They were. Yep. That was after we lost 26 games in a row.
Wow.
Yeah.
From the beginning of our franchise. So we beat you guys.
Yeah.
That was a very horrible time of my life for football.
Yeah. Yeah, I had many years of wearing the bag on my head as a kid.
Oh, that's so funny. The Aints.
The Aints, yeah. And then in the 80s, we were good. We had Bobby Abear, and then we relied on our we had like this thunderfoot kicker, Morton Anderson. That's how we won games in the 80s, is he could kick them from midfield.
Yep.
So they let him.
Oh, for sure.
And then we got Drew Brees for a few years, and it was fun. Finally got a Super Bowl, and now look at us.
Yep.
Anyway,
when the rumors started going around that we were going to get Tom Brady, I'm like, nope, it's not going to happen. I'm not getting my hopes up. Then we actually signed him. I'm like, whoa.
I knew that was going to happen. I'm like, he's not coming to the Saints. Dang it.
Yeah. Yep, we got the GOAT, and he came and brought us the Super Bowl, so that's pretty cool. Especially since all my friends told me that before our first Super Bowl that I'd probably die without one. Now I've got 2 of them, so they can suck it.
Yeah, I remember the NFC Championship game when they won it by a field goal to get into the Super Bowl. I cried like a baby, man. It was going. I was like, yeah, let's go to the Super Bowl.
well, every year you don't get to go there. And when Rondé Barber picked off Donovan McNabb and ran it 90 yards, that right there was more of the moment than even the Super Bowl for me.
Yeah.
Well,
remember they destroyed, what was it, the Raiders?
Yep.
It was the Yeah, they punished them.
48-21.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike Phillips. He loves the Raiders.
Well, that coach should have changed his playbook because Gruden knew exactly what they're doing. You can see videos of John Lynch talking and goes, I knew he was going to do that play. He should have changed it up, but he didn't. And he paid
that
for
was
it.
That was a heck of a team back then.
Oh, they're all starting to file into the Hall of Fame now.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I thought we'd get real spiritual there and talk about the NFL. I saw you take a drink, and I'm like,
it was that cup, man.
Yeah, the Saints. Yeah. Yeah, man, but I love that. I like the format of your show. It's you just kind of go with the flow here. It's cool.
Yeah, we don't have a great agenda. It's just kind of like, we want to give you the opportunity to talk about what's important to you. And then we get silly sometimes, and sometimes we get real serious, but it's kind of let the spirit lead it.
Yep. And thanks for the compliment, because we're liking what we're doing now too. And we got to get the full version pretty soon of StreamYard.
Yeah, I was looking at it today. So probably by the end of this month, we're going to be putting investing a little bit of money into the show and upgrading our equipment so that when Bryan wants to play a video like that, we can actually have good audio of it. And it doesn't try to,
and we'd already have that section ready.
Yeah. So we're getting there. It's just a matter of, we never expected to be here yet. So
no.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
You're friends with Dave Cruz, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave. I think either Dave or Ray. I know they co-host. Is It Wrong?
Yeah,
well, that's Ray's show.
Yeah, and so I'm sure he could give you all kinds of tips on how he runs the screens. I think Dave is like a technical guy.
He is.
Yeah,
we made a few of our music videos.
Cool.
Ray turned us on to StreamYard, so yeah, when it's time to go pro, we're gonna definitely
go pro.
I don't want to waste our money and not use it right. So, Greg Bland, I think that's Papa Bear. To show you around, Bryan. He says he loves.
He just interviewed me a couple weeks ago.
He wants to connect with you, Eli. So, again, is that the best place to get you? Facebook, YouTube?
Yeah. Just Google Eli Prinsen, and you'll probably see links to my YouTube channels and my websites. My main website it's a long name. It's streaming.hybridvocaltechnique.com.
Want to say that again?
Streaming.hybridvocaltechnique.com.
Okay. So hope somebody wrote that down. It's looking for it.
What's Dean got for me here?
Dean says there needs to be a Christian metal version of the hearing aid from back in the 80s with you, Mike Lee, Ray Parra, Les Carlson, etc. Well, if that's going to happen, that would be an Immortal Fest.
That would be, that'd be fun, man. Wow. Yeah, nice one, Dean. Dean always puts the funniest, how do you say that? GIF, whatever, the little moving posts. Dean, every time I post something, Dean, he always has like my favorite ones that he does. He'll say he'll find some random celebrity or singer or actor, like let's just say it's anybody. I got the guys. What's the guy? When a man loves a woman. What's his name?
I know this.
Michael Bolton. Bolton.
Okay.
One time I posted something and Dean puts Michael Bolton on there like clapping or something. It says Michael Bolton approves. And every time I post something on my voice Facebook page, he'll always put something on there like that. Like even this person approves.
You know who's really funny too, and we're going to have him on our show pretty soon, is Luke Easter.
Cool.
I like how I'm reading some of his posts. They're just pretty funny.
Yeah, he's always got funny stuff. It'd be another one we'd need to add to that list of singers that Dean put up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Dean. I've known Dean. Haven't met him in person yet, but we've had a friendship online for quite a while now, and I love the guy. It's a great guy.
Cool, man. Yeah.
We haven't met in person yet, but remember that picture? You were standing 10 feet or less from me, and I didn't even know.
Yeah, we were in the same picture together, but we didn't know each other yet. And
The White Cross and Bloodgood concert.
Yeah, like what was that, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I found that picture, Eli. I found the picture and I sent it to him. He goes, "Hey, that's me." So it's funny. Now we're doing this together, and it's just like you said earlier, God does strange things. To us, they're strange. He's got it all in control.
Yeah, to him, it's like, come on, guys. It's what I do.
But we still have to be in awe, don't we?
We do. And that's something, talk about, we're getting close to the end of time here, but talk about the awe of when you get to be on stage, you're singing these lyrics. Clearly, you're doing this because you love music, but mostly because you love the Lord, because you could make a lot more money in the secular world. What's that like when you get to be in on that stage, or is everybody just disappear and it's just you and the Lord? You have those moments in the performance where that happens.
Yeah, definitely. I remember playing a show and I'm singing and got touched by the lyrics that I was singing and almost got emotional. And that, that doesn't happen too often, because like, you practice and you get used to something, but it's kind of like, if you ever heard a worship song and you're in your car, in your truck or whatever, and you find yourself, tearing up, it just hits you the right way, And I remember one time singing, it was a ballad, and was getting emotional. It's just like, yeah, you just kind of forget where you're at, sometimes. Yeah. It's just like, you're singing something to share it, and you're the one getting ministered to sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that's the component that we get to experience as believers in whatever we're doing. That's our creative thing that we're doing, that it's an audience of one.
Yep.
And I think if the up and coming musicians, the people that are wanting to get into this business or doing what we're doing here tonight, whatever it is, if you're a creator of content, first and foremost is your audience is one, and then everything, and then God will give you the increase from there. And I think just you sharing how you were listening to that track in the car after how long, how many years?
Oh, wow. It was several years, like decades.
Yeah, and then you get a call that day.
Well, it seemed like decades. Yeah, because it was right after I met Rich in 2010. It might have been a year later. I asked him, I was like, hey, man, I'd really like to cover Ride to Kill. I thought about doing it for my voice channel, but I wanted it for myself, let's face it. but yeah, and he was just like, oh, here you go. And I remember actually we never ended up doing this, but the Christian metal realm, it's like a forum or something like that, or a anyways, it's
Like a group.
Yeah, a group where you could talk about, you know, Christian metal. And this was years ago. They were doing something. They had done a tribute for, I think, for Deliverance, and then they were going to do one for Saint, I think. And I was in the Sacrificed at the time, and I was like, dude, man, we should do a song, because my drummer in the Sacrificed is a massive Saint fan. When I told him what was going on, you know, like before anyone else knew, he was like, "Oh my God, you got it." He breaks out all of this gear from like the stuff for being in the fan club in the early days. I mean, he was a fan since Warriors of the Sun, man, from the beginning, you know. And he has all this stuff, and he goes, "Can you show this to Rich?" And he took a picture of it, and I'm like, "Yeah." And Rich is like, "Wow, there's probably people out there that pay a lot of money for that." It was like perfect condition, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were gonna do a song off of Too Late for Living. And what was that song? Anyway, there was the chorus had this thing Josh was singing, and I couldn't understand the words. They weren't in the sleeve. So I messaged Rich. I said, "Rich, what is he saying right here?" And he writes me back and he says, "Okay, prepare yourself. The lyrics are, whoa, 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 whoa."
That's pretty tight. That's pretty tight, man.
Yeah, I sat in front of the thing. I'm like, what? All these years singing along, you know, driving around singing along to Saint. And I'm like, I was like inventing misheard lyrics to this part forever, you know.
He was probably cracking up when he sent that to you.
I was rolling, man. So yeah, but that back to what Paul was saying. Yeah, it was probably a year after I'd met him, and I asked him about that track, and then I had that probably, God, let's see, probably 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and just I was looking on a hard drive for another audio file, and I was like, ooh. And you know, he sent me like a really good wave of it and everything. And I was like, dude, so I put that on my USB stick, and that day I'm driving around, you know, the horseman ride to kill, you know, and I get home that, you know, later in the evening, and I get the message from him, and he's like, "I need a singer for 12 days. Wow. What are you doing in March?" I'm like, "Is this for Saint?" He's like, "Yes, it is."
Well, I'm about to pass out. I've done everything I can to just stay here. So
you did it, man. You made it. As sick as you were, you made it.
We did it.
You did it.
So Paul usually asks the person something at this point to end it.
Yeah. So what do you want to close us out with? What do you want us to remember you for tonight?
Well, that's a tough one. I'm on the spot to remember me.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Just you know, I'm just happy to have met you guys. You know, we're friends now. We finally met each other, you know. So let's stay in touch. I'm going to be working my tail off with Saint, you know, from here on out. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully awesome. I know it will. God's got me, his right hand.
Well, I'm glad it worked out to have you on. We had kind of scheduling things going on, and we were able to get it done. So
yeah, we did it. Yep. We're all ready to just
I'll be passing out once I get out of here.
But this has been great, man. Thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you very much for
coming.
Thank you guys, man. It was a pleasure. I'm so happy I got to meet you guys.
And I'd like to reserve the right to have you back at some point when you got some stories from the road and maybe an album getting ready to come out or something.
Absolutely.
That'll be fun.
Fantastic. All right. Well, God bless you guys. Prayers for health and staying healthy, and we'll talk to you soon.
God bless you guys. I'll talk to you later.
Yep.
All right.